All right, Chuck, good morning. Good day, actually. We're actually recording this in a beautiful evening. You're
Yes, it is.
outside, I'm outside, and I think both of us would love to just be side by side out on the boat, just hanging together.
Oh, well, man, I would love to be on the boat right now. Oh my goodness. I love being out on the boat on the open water and just take my mind off of everything. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
yeah,
beautiful. I mean, you see from our Facebook and my TikTok, I mean, we spend a lot of time on the boat, and I'm a big summer guy, so being outside is just where it's kind of my happy place, especially if I'm on a boat. And just kind of by way of introduction, so Chuck Hill and we are part of the Sean Hart's Elite Speaking Academy, where we're being mentored on how to have an impact on people's lives that we feel called to. And so we've developed a friendship over the past couple months, and I've really enjoyed his wisdom, his insight, and I've really enjoyed his Facebook post with him playing with his boys outside. He's got three little boys, and they're always playing football and running around. In fact, the other day you had one video posted where you had cones set up, and the older boy was like running out of pattern and go, I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna go here and then I'm gonna run. And it was funny because as he was running away, he's kind of looking over his shoulder, and I wasn't sure if he was looking for a pass, but you made the comment, oh, he's looking at his shadow.
oh yeah. That was
That,
that was my my boy Carter. He's 4 years old. He's 4 years old. That was Carter. Yeah, he's looking at his shadow, and then when uh he caught the ball, took off running, looking at his shadow. And then when he got to where he thought was a touchdown, he said touchdown, and it was just so cute. Just having one to tear up, just watching him grow up.
so how old are your boys?
So I actually have five boys.
Oh,
I have a 19-year-old, and then in my household with me and my wife, I have four boys. The oldest boy is 8 years old, which is Chandler. He was the one out there, one of the ones out doing the drills at the school the other day. Then there's Cameron. Cameron is 6. He'll be 7 in July. He's my gymnast, so he's always flipping and dancing, and he's just crazy talented. He's so strong. And then there's Carter, which is the one who was running with the football, looking at his shadow. He's 4. And then there's the baby, Caleb, who was out there with us, and he just turned 1 in January. And then we also have a daughter. She's actually 17, going into her senior year.
so yeah, your
So I have a
family's a
full
little.
plate.
Yeah, I was gonna say your family's a little bigger than I had thought it was, and I guess one of the things that I really like about that video that you posted is, as a kid, my dad always played baseball with me. I love to play baseball, and I always loved to play football, and I always tried to do that with my kids, and having that time with your dad throwing the ball with you, and I mean, those are just really precious memories. And I love the idea. I'm thinking about your son running down looking at his shadow, because I remember as a kid thinking shadows were really cool. But I
Yeah,
always I always remember too that I'd be running down and I'd be imagining having that touchdown moment and just going touchdown.
touchdown.
And
Yeah.
so talk about, no, one, the importance of spending that time with your kids, but also fueling those dreams, right? Because that guy was imagining getting that winning touchdown.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember being not quite 4, but younger, 5, 6, 7, 8, probably even 10, 9, and 10, and having those moments, and my father not being there. And so, with all resentment that was present at one point, just it just turned into me being having gratitude. just for being him, and the man who wasn't there just for his seed. And so not having those moments made me want to create those moments, with my boys. And so just being there with them and uh, playing ball or doing gymnastics or whatever it may be, and seeing the smiles on their faces and the joy. Oh man, like my son, I coach his football team. My son Chandler, and he surprised me how fast he is. He's so fast, and he does so good, even with basketball. And like whenever he does something good, or whenever he does something that he's taught and duplicated on the field or on the basketball court, like I just started tearing up just watching them, just because those moments are just so precious. And even and being there, just watching those moments, watching them grow and creating those moments, is so special. And I think it's so important, just because you can't buy those moments. I don't care how rich you are. I don't care how much money you have. You can't pay for those moments. Those moments are priceless. And the thing is, if you're not there at the time, you can't get those moments back.
No.
And so that's part of my whole motivation. My motivation is, to be there in their lives, because I didn't have that, and I always want that, seeing my football buddies have that. And then two, that I can't get those moments back. So being there every step of the way is very important to me. I was working third shift at my current place of employment, worked third shift for 3 years. And I thought it was great, because I had all day with my kids, get off in the morning and just be there all day, and they come up from school and I'm there. It was great, but it wasn't great because I didn't have the energy to put into them to create those moments. And so, I was willing to take a pay cut. So I went to my bosses and say, hey, I'm willing to take a pay cut and step down, just because I need to be back on day shift, because I need my energy there for my children, for my wife as well. Most importantly, my wife, but it's equally important for my children. And so that's what happened. Thank God I didn't have to step down. That, the good Lord created a position for me. But just, being there and having those moments and having that energy to pour all into those guys, it's priceless, Jody. It's priceless. So, I tell fathers all the time that, take every opportunity that you can and pour it into your children, because you can't get those moments back. And those opportunities will live in their heart for the rest of their lives. It's those moments that's going to create their successes in some form or fashion, because that's part of the home training, and that's a part of the memories, and that's a part of your legacy. That trickles down from generation to generation, that love, and those times spent. And man, I wouldn't change anything for the world.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because as I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about, you have a 19-year-old now and you have a 1-year-old. That's a big gap, right? And I'm thinking my kids are now 18 to 26, and they're at that age where, I blinked and they were 12, and I blinked again and they were at college. And so those moments go really, really fast. And I often ask myself, it's like, did I capture every one of those moments? And I look back, and like yesterday or the other day, my son, he went camping with his girlfriend, and he was telling me where they'd went. He goes, yeah, we went there one time on a scouting trip. And I'm like, wow, did I miss one of those? And I was like, oh man, because I tried to go, on a lot of those, but there must have been a couple that I missed. And you just can't recapture those moments. And so making sure that, at every stage of their life, that you're being as engaged and as involved as a dad as you can, it really does. It sets a foundation, but it also sets a legacy for, their kids and going on. And it's weird, because I never thought I don't have any grandkids, which is great. I'm not excited. I'm not ready to have grandkids. I'm too young to have them. Right. But, this white on the chin that, would say otherwise, but, it's just, time goes so fast. And so making sure that you're making time is really critical. So like one of the things that we did is as a family is we made sure every Monday night we did something as a family. I mean, there was no baseball, no anything like that. When they were, especially when they were young, it was easier. Monday night was family night. We'd have dinner and treats, and we'd play games. Sometimes we'd have a spiritual thought, and really try to make sure that we had that time in addition to Sunday, because a lot of times you get Sunday, you're going to church, and everybody else is, doing all that thing, but you're not capturing those moments together as a family. So we made sure that we always did that, and then we always made sure that we had a date night for Judy and I, so kids always knew that they had a family time, and they also had dedicated mom and dad time. And I think that's really important, that you set up some dedicated time, because it's easy to get busy working and doing the yard and everything else, serving in your church and everything else, that all of a sudden you're
Yeah,
left with no time for your kids.
yeah. I had that was actually a problem for me. Kind of not knowing how to say no. You know, and even like in the church realm, doing things for the church, and it wasn't that they were trying to pull me away. It's just that it's just trying to be so many things to so many people, and then by the time it come back, to my family, my energy is diminished, and so that they're not, getting the whole effort, and so I had to start learning how to say no, and that that I can't. Or if we're at church and my wife got the kids and I'm on piano, had to just say, hey, I'm trying to do week on and week off, or try to create a way where I can help her out more. And it took me a little while to learn that, and I'm still working on getting better at that. Just because some of those things I wasn't taught growing up, or I didn't see it. And so, like, even like seeing you and your wife on social media exercise and then just doing all the different things that you guys do, like, I take note of those things. Like, me and my wife, we exercise a lot now. Like, I won't say because of the pandemic, but I give thanks to the pandemic, because it allowed us to have more of a closeness, in that area, and kind of, watching you guys, you and your wife, even what you saying, you guys had to create a date night, because we got a family night, and I think I just need to be more consistent and more instrumental in making sure that we have a date night, because we try to create a date night, but then we just don't plan our day out right with the kids to get them down in bed enough or early enough that we can go have a date night. And so, with that being said, from you, it just motivated me even more to really be instrumental and be aggressive in making sure we have a date night, just so our relationship can be just as healthy, along with our children relationship being healthy. Because one thing that I'm learning too, is that they have to see us happy and see us loving on each other, because that's part of a legacy too. I want them to grow up and know how to treat their husbands and how to treat their wives. And so, yeah, I love seeing you guys exercising on social media. I need to start recording ours. Maybe it'll uh, motivate someone. And if we even get involved with the kids, we have a night with the kids. They all come in and we're all exercising, and it's just man, it's so beautiful. And just watching my kids, man, it's just I'm already a emotional guy, so I'm just tearing up every time I see them doing something that make me proud. I just I'm tearing up, and I'm talking to my wife about it. And she's like, yeah, I was tearing up too, because we both come from different walks, but we didn't see you know we didn't see marriages coming up. We didn't see a mother and a father in the house. So so those things we you know, take notes at getting better on, and we watch successful married couples and successful mothers and fathers, and learn from them, and just try to be instrumental and engaged in everything that our children do, and it really pays off, man, and it's beautiful.
Well, there's a couple nuggets in there that you kind of you talked about, but they're hidden if you don't really look at them. You know, both you and your wife came from homes that didn't have the ideal, right, family environment, right? But you determined as a couple that you were going to start a new legacy. And I think a lot of times, men and women struggle with, it's like, well, I never saw it. So how do I learn how to do it differently? And two, how do I really dedicate my heart, my determination, my dedication to see this through and figure it out together. And I'll never forget, when Judy and I first sat down, and told my dad that my mom and dad, that we were going to get married. My dad said, well, I'd like to talk to you guys just by yourself. And, we sat down, we're sitting in the kitchen at the table, and he goes, first of all, he goes, number one, I'm really, really excited for you. He goes, I love you, Judy. I've loved what you've brought to our family, and I'm really excited to have you as my daughter. Number two, he goes, I want you to recognize that I see that you are now beginning to create your own family. So I want you to know that I'm going to give you the freedom to create your own family. And the only time that I will ever step into your marriage is if I ever see abuse. Other than that, he goes, I want you to build, and I want you to struggle, and I want you to, work together and pray together and play together. But I want you to go build your family. We're not going to be the nosy parents stepping in unless, in the case of abuse. If you want my advice, you can come, but I'm going to give you my advice, and then you have to go make the decision. And I love that he gave us, at the very beginning, the freedom to build our marriage. And I think a lot of times, a lot of couples struggle because they're living in the shadow of an overbearing parent or a lack of a parent. And we really had the opposite. We're like, go fly, go soar, go build your family. And I love that you and your wife said, you know what, we're going to make a new legacy.
Yeah, and one thing, if I can bring my dad up again, one thing that I learned from him, which helped me make my decisions as well, was that all of his children were outside of his current marriage that he had. When I was born, I don't know, a bunch of siblings on his side, and they all was outside of his marriage. And so once me and my wife got married, I decided, that was motivation for me to have my children. It was my 19-year-old. I had him when I was 18, and he's now with me and my wife. So after him, I just kind of told the good Lord, I'm like, my next child that I have, I'll be married. And then I kind of said some other things in the area of I'm going to be married by the time I'm 28. I'm going to do this. Not knowing that I was like speaking that over my life. So by the time 28 rolled around, here I am getting married. And then, me and I hadn't had another child since my first child until me and my wife got married. But that was motivation for me to have the legacy or break the curse, if you will, of having children by multiple women outside of a marriage. And so when me and my wife got married, I was proud to be able to say that all of our children together were together and not, me going out on her or whatever. And so that's been real good motivation. And I'm still learning a lot as a husband. We'll be married 10 years on the 12th of this month, and I still got a lot to learn. And what's motivating for me is to hear experienced husbands say, 10 years is still young. That's still a young marriage. You still get a whole, lifetime of things to learn about being a husband. And here these guys are, 40, 50 years into marriage saying this. So that's very encouraging to hear that, from the marriage standpoint.
Yeah, I'm a big believer that marriage is meant to be forever. So I'm like, in the realm of 31 years, we're just newlyweds. So let's get rolling.
Oh, that's awesome, man. 31 years, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's but it, like you said, you're continually learning and growing. So what are some key things that you think have helped you in that growth process with you and your wife?
Probably me messing up so much. Really, and I'm getting better at the whole communication thing too, and just really, listening to my wife, her pouring into me, how she feel, what she like and what she don't like, listening to her, and also kind of, for me, watching models, like, when we're at church, there's, the people that's been married for 31 years and 40 years or 50 years, I watch those people. Not the people who may be older than us, but they only been married for a few years, 15 years. I want to get my information from the from the gray heads, if you will, as marriage go. They get gray hairs on their marriage, and kind of just take advice from those people and watch those people, and then just try to be instrumental in everything that they pour into us, and which is tough, man, when you don't grow up seeing it and you kind of stuck in what you think you know, and you start trying to learn things, and so I haven't been the best just because of the way I was raised and things of that nature, but I want to be better and I want to get it right. So whenever I do something wrong, I'm just oh my goodness, you should know this by now. You should know this. And so, so for me, just being transparent, I've learned a lot that I've known from our marriage, from me just messing up, man, screwing up, not getting things right. Probably majority of that is for me messing up, and then, so 75% mess up, 25% of just, learning from, elderly couples that's been married for over time.
I love that you're candid about messing up, because I think a lot of times we beat ourselves up because we make mistakes, but really, I mean, that's what life is about. And that's, to me, what I've really enjoyed about, my marriage with my wife is, we have been 120% committed. And you know what? I messed up, I've made mistakes, and, my wife and her commitment, her love, her patience, have made a huge difference in our marriage. And it's inspired me to want to be better, because I never want to break her heart, right? I want to serve her. I want her to feel like the queen that she is. And I think a lot of times we as men, especially when we start having kids and we're trying to be the best dad, and it's easy as a mom and a dad to start to pull away from each other, not intentionally, but because we're so consumed with work and with the kids that it's easy to start neglecting that relationship. And to me, it's just really, really important. And that's why we're so insistent. Every week we have a date night. And, there were times when, we didn't have hardly anything, and we would scrape together out of our coin jar enough to go buy, some chocolate chip cookie mix, bring it home, and we would make chocolate chip cookies and then go into our bedroom, close the door, and watch a movie, a dollar movie from Blockbuster, if you remember that. But but we got creative, and we just made sure that we always had that time together.
Wow, yeah, and I can relate to that, because we're so busy with the kids, and I know I'm so busy with the kids. Like my one kid's in gymnastics. When things were all opened up, you got gymnastics and football and dance and all these different. Hey,
that's my wife.
All these different things going on that you kind of, by the time you get back to each other, you're exhausted, and so I fall asleep in the bed with the baby. She falls asleep on the couch, and next thing you know, it becomes routine, and then you just kind of start searching and trying to find time for each other, and it becomes tough. And so, like right now, we're trying to be creative and put more time into each other, and having a date night. We have yet to go through or follow through with a planned date night yet. We have yet to. Well, especially since the pandemic, and so.
I challenge you to do that. And it's interesting because, when we adopted our two kids, we literally, the first 2 years, because of the dynamic of, bringing new kids into our home, and, they were 8, 9, and they had, some emotional challenges that we as a family were now confronted with. And we just said, look, you know what, even if it's just because we literally couldn't leave the house without each other for a time. I mean, it just was that dynamic of a situation. And so we would just say, all right, at Friday night, after the kids go to bed, at 10 o'clock is our date night. And we would go in and we would pop some popcorn, or we would make some milkshakes together, and we would go sequester ourselves in our bedroom, close the door because we couldn't leave. And then we would just sit and visit. We'd cry, we'd commiserate, we'd laugh, we'd watch a movie. And we would, on those nights, I mean, we would be up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, just visiting and enjoying and, being reinvigorated by having that time together. And some nights, I mean, we would have the milkshake and we'd be just so exhausted that we would just curl up and, cuddle together and go to bed, halfway through a movie. And it's just, sometimes your personal situation may force you to be a little bit more creative. Maybe you can't go get the nice dinner or go out to the movie like you need to, but that time together is so critical, not only for you guys but also for your kids. Our kids know that mom and dad have a date night. They know it, they see it, right? And one of the great things that I had as a kid is, and you touched on it earlier, is, seeing how a dad loves and treats his wife. I mean, I remember my dad all the time coming up and, swat my mom in the butt, or, putting his arms around her and hugging her from behind, and sometimes doing the jitterbug together. And seeing your kids seeing that with your wife is really, really important.
Wow. Yeah, man, I appreciate you sharing all of that with me, man, because that is so helpful. That is so helpful. And those are things that we talk about, and I accept that challenge to create a date night. And fortunately, we have a 17-year-old daughter that we can say, hey, we give you a couple bucks, this night every week, to keep the kids, and even if it's just keeping them downstairs while we in our room or whatever. And so we're definitely getting back on that, because a few times that we did in the past, it was always beautiful. But I mean, even though some of those times we might have been talking about issues or talking about good times, either way, it was still good and beneficial for us, as a unit. Because when you're married, you're a unit, you're one. And
Yeah.
so when she heard, I heard. When I heard, she heard. And so, man, I appreciate all those nuggets. You just dropping those nuggets left and right, Jody. I appreciate it.
Well, you know what, and I've gained so much from you just listening to you, and that's really the purpose of Father's Fire. Is I want to find men, and I've been really blessed. God has put phenomenal men in my circle where we can talk about our desire to be good husbands and fathers. And I think a lot of times there is a very strong narrative, and arguably so, that there are many men that are missing in their homes, whether that's they're missing because they're so involved with work or sports, or they're playing golf, or they're working all the time, or they're divorced. I mean, there are many ways that you can be absent. And I'm like, no, you know what, there are good men out here. And when I started Father's Fire, it was to find men that were examples of that. And so I really appreciate the example that I've seen in you and witnessed in you as you and I have become friends over the time. And I'm just super excited. So, kind of in wrap up, now, what are some key things that you would tell a young dad that are critically important for him, or even a more seasoned dad, because you have a 19-year-old son? So what are one or two key things that you think are really, really important?
Um, I'd say one is to hang in there, because it's going to get tough. There's going to be adversity. You're going to have money, then you're going to be broke as a young father. You're going to have a job. You may lose your job, or you may be on a job where you're making decent money, but the environment is toxic. Hang in there and have the mentality that when you go to work, you're not working for you. You're working. This is for your kid, or this is maybe if you're a young father with a young family and you're married. This is for your family. Um, Keep your eye on the prize, which is providing for your family. Because if you don't keep your eye on the prize that you're providing for your family or providing for your child, then you can fall victim to the cancers in that toxic environment at work. And for the seasoned dads, I'd say, you know, that time is necessary. That quality time is, is more beneficial than any pair of shoes, in any outfit, any game. Because when you planting those seeds is one thing, but if you don't when you plant those seeds, you have to come back and water them for them to grow. So as a seasoned father, you need to know that you need to plant those seeds and then water them. Hey, Chandler. Chandler just stuck his head in.
That's great. I love it.
Thanks, bud. You have to plant those seeds, but then you have to water, because the watering is just as important as planting them, because, you know, you don't want to plant those seeds and then you start getting weeds growing around them. And by that, I mean, you know, you plant those seeds, you don't water them, you know, you just allow them to walk into anything, you know, watch anything or listen to anything, or come home with their problems at school and you don't address them, or you don't have to talk to them about the bully, or you don't prepare them for the bully. I like to say that because I feel like it's not the bully. The bully is not the one that creates the fear. It's the fact that, you know, not knowing who you are and not being taught to stand up for yourself in the midst of adversity gives the bully power. But yeah, I would say watering those seeds and planting those seeds and watering them for those seasoned fathers, and making sure you get that time in. Don't be so overwhelmed with work and so overwhelmed with hobbies or duties or whatever it is that you don't put that time in. Like, I could have a rough day at work, and actually that's part of why I got an iPhone for FaceTime for when I was working third shift, so I can see my wife and my kids when I'm at work. But I could be having a, you know, not so good day at work and be frustrated for whatever reason, and as soon as, you know, my wife FaceTime me or I FaceTime her and I see her, and then I see my kids, like, the frustration and the irritation is immediately gone, and I'm just refreshed. And so now my tank is back on full, and I can start over with my day. And I mean, not that I let those things affect my actions as a supervisor at work. I'm still the same guy all the time, but, you know, things be bubbling on the inside of me on how I'm feeling depending on the situation. And I get that phone call from those guys, and I see those faces, and instantly I got a clean slate. And I'm just like, you guys just made my day. And sometimes my day be so bad, you gotta excuse me. Sometimes my day it'll be so bad, not bad like that, but just so frustrated or just so overwhelming that just seeing those guys on the phone, I just instantly become grateful and thankful. And I really, like I was saying to the young father, I look at the bigger picture of why I do what I do, why I'm going through what I'm going through, and why I'm in the process of going to the next level of my business or whatever. Is for them. They changed the whole dynamic of my thought process when I see them. Just like when Chandler was born, and I was going through a whole bunch of resentment and going through all these things emotionally because of my past. And when he was born, and the doctor put him in my arms, like immediate healing took place. An immediate healing took place, and it was just like supernatural. And I couldn't believe it, but it's the same feeling that when I'm at work and having a bad day, and I see those guys on my phone laughing and smiling in there, hey daddy, and it just, oh man, it's and as a seasoned father, man, you need that. We need that, and they need us there every step of the way, because you can't get those moments back. You know, like you were saying that you were looking at your children, how they were 8, and you looked up, they were 12, and then now one's 26, how fast that time go by. It really does fly by. It really does fly by. So that time is really precious. Like, time is of the essence when it comes to your children. Every moment, if you can be there for every moment, if you can't be there for every moment, help them understand why you can't be there if you're not there, just so they understand and they know. But, you know, quality time, you can't buy it. I don't care how much money you got, you can't pay for it. And it's necessary. It's highly necessary as a seasoned father. If you're a young father, just stick in there. Stick in there. Don't quit. Don't give up. Stick in there and know why you're doing it, and everything will be good.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being my guest. I mean, we could easily keep going for another 30 minutes, but I just really do appreciate the friendship that you and I are building.
Absolutely.
Guys, please go out to Facebook, connect with Chuck Hill. He's doing some amazing things working with men and fathers and husbands. He has a great program. He calls it the Toolbox. working to give you guys the tools to help you become better men. So please reach out to connect with him. And I tell you, you can tell from our discussion, he's got wisdom and he's got passion and he's got a vision for what it means to be a good husband, a good father, and ultimately to be a good man and to be the blessing that his children and his wife need. So thank you so much for joining me, Chuck. It was a true pleasure. So
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I look forward to the good times to come in our
absolutely.
friendship.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys tuning in. You know, every Monday we get together to explore the joys, the challenges, the triumphs, the sorrows. And yes, I'm telling you, it is fun being a dad. I love being a dad. I was built to be a husband, built to be a dad. And you know what? It's all about trying to help all of us catch that passion and vision. So we will check you guys same time, same bat channel, just next week, right here on Father's Fire. See ya.